Right, hello guys, welcome to another The Next Level podcast with me, your host George, and our co-host Kabir, Josh. We're going to do a quick review on last week's game week, of which we analysed the Sheffield United and Leeds United game, of which we will then go into detail on this week's spotlight game that we have decided to pick on Man United and Tottenham Hotspur. So, I picked out a few bits of the game last week. Leeds were very dominant throughout the game, received 64% possession, created 17 shots on goal, accurate passes with 470, pass success reached 81%, and then shots on target were 5 and shots on target were 9 and shots off target were 5. So yeah, with the goal, Bamford, the ball went out wide and Bamford was able to be in a nice area to score on goal. We discussed last week, obviously, Bamford being the key player, being the key frontline player for Leeds to score, which we said, he's always hitting he's always wanting to be on the last shoulder of the defence, which for the goal on analysis, he does seem to look like he wants to get past it, but once it goes out wide, he's always looking to get into the box, and which he had done, and he lost his man and headed the goal, which led to the winning goal. Interesting fact here as well, formation-wise, we did discuss whether if Chris Wilder would stick or twist. He did stick with the 3-5-2, which he did play. Of them which Leeds, however, on paper, like I said, were 4-1-4-1. But they then did go to a 3-5-2 and match Sheffield United, which allowed obviously the likes of Rodrigo to go up further forward and give them wing backs a go at their sort of back three. So yeah, what do we think, guys? Then, what was your analysis?
Yeah, like we said, I think you've covered pretty much all of it there. But like we said last week, the game would be won or lost in the midfield, and it was really, wasn't it? Obviously, Leeds matching or going up and ended up matching with Sheffield through the middle, and probably ended up being the decisive factor there.
I think even though Sheffield United don't come away with any points after this game, I think it's really good that it was a 1-0 loss for them, because one, they haven't conceded multiple goals. Two, they were without their skipper in Egan, which is a core part of their defense. And three, they created a lot more chances. With something like 14 shots, albeit only 4 on target, it shows that they don't have that clinical aspect that they so desperately need. But creating 14 chances was more than they created in their past games combined. So, by Sheffield now picking up these loose ends slowly and surely, we have to remember it's still very early on in the season. But when it comes down to it, it's an improvement from Sheffield, not where they want to be, but you can't always have what you want. It's good to now use the small foundation that they've built and build onto it for the rest of the season. Hopefully they can now improve little by bit by bit, each training session, each game, and hopefully we see that come through.
Yeah, because you mentioned last week, Kabir, Sheffield United would be very compact, of which have to allow the other teams to create more passes to get through their back line, and they obviously and the passes they only performed on Sunday was 327, and then out of those 327, 232 were accurate on ball touch passes. Compare that to Leeds. Leeds doubled that with 470 accurate passes, with 578 in total. So Leeds dominated, obviously through statistics. Sheffield United only touching 36%. It's showing are there cracks now showing in the Sheffield United philosophy? I don't know, but like you said, still early on in the season. Can it be overturned? Chris Wilder is a very well-respected manager. I definitely think he can turn it around, but I still think they need that clinical striker up front, like you said. 4 shots on target out of a possible 14. It's not good enough, really.
I mean, like, if you do look at their tactics, that this idea of this overlapping centre backs that they do play, and it causes a lot of readjustment within the team, and everyone really needs to know their role. But I think that also then facilitates into the length of the passes. So Sheffield United either have to play very short passes or very long ones, because when you look at it, with 5 in the midfield for Sheffield and 5 in the midfield essentially for Leeds, you have 10 out of 22 players in the game, right? Nearly half of all people active in the game are in the midfield. So by playing, you can't play tiki-taka when you're playing Sheffield, right? Because you don't have those players. You don't have that quality. You have a very aerial dominant team, so which would then automatically lend them into a more play long balls, keep the ball in the air, and see if we can just out-muscle a team. Whether Chris Wilder will then now try and teach a new formation or a new tactic that they can switch into halfway through the game once they've worn down the opponents, we yet to see it. We can't comment on that now, but I don't know. I think Sheffield United can definitely take a few positives away from this game, and I think that's what we should be focusing on instead of the plethora of negatives that come behind a loss.
Perfect. I think we've covered pretty much everything we've got to speak about there. So I think time to get on with our next spotlight review, guys. So obviously Spurs playing tonight, Tuesday night, and then they've got another important game on Thursday in the Europa League. I'm not even going to try and pronounce who they're playing because I'm going to butcher it horribly. But obviously, I think the lineups going into the game on Saturday will depend on, one, how they get on tonight, and secondly, how they get on Thursday night as well. Obviously, in terms of player fitness, that was well documented on the All or Nothing documentary on Amazon Prime with regards to player fitness and always having a lot of players on the treatment table. So obviously, Jose doesn't want to be losing a lot of his players early on in the season because that can have a massive negative impact going on in towards Christmas, where it's a very busy period.
When it comes to this weekend's matchup, it's really important to note, obviously, Jose Mourinho was the ex-manager at United, how that plays into it. It's a great story. He's such a good manager, and I think he's definitely one of the best ever graced the game. And just the way, the insight he can give to Tottenham's players about United, because realistically, since he's managed, not many of the pieces have changed. There've been a few changes in the personnel with Van de Beek coming in, Fernandes coming in, but more or less the core team is still there with De Gea, Rashford, Martial, Fred still plays, McTominay still plays. A lot of these players that Jose Mourinho didn't like. So it's always good to see that rivalry that's now going to be built.
Yeah, I think massively. If I was Jose, I'd definitely be wanting to get one back on Man United as well. I think the way the players sort of treated him and just left him out there to dry was appalling, really, and that's sort of everything what's wrong with the game at the minute. I guess it kind of goes to show in the Prime documentary as well, when Mourinho talks about when Pogba will come off the bench at half-time in a team talk, and he says he's going to get into a wide right channel and he's going to play a cross-field ball, and it'll give, and I quote, it'll give Man United a very good chance to us, which it does, and then Pogba plays the ball to Rashford, and I think it's Rashford, and Rashford tucks it away. So Mourinho's insight into how Man United will play on Sunday, I think it is, will be very important if Spurs want to get anything out of it. Kind of leads me into my next point about what players will be playing for him, because obviously made a few changes tonight to the team that were lucky to get a point against Newcastle. Obviously, see Woodley laughing there. Obviously, that's my biased Newcastle fan in me there, but yeah, they should have beaten us quite comfortably, but they had the chances there. But I guess if it wasn't for Darlow, mate, I think it was 14 saves in a Premier League match, and most for a Newcastle player in quite a while. I think maybe most in the Premier League as well. But yeah, Spurs, if they'd taken the chances, they would have won, which is quite worrying as well when Son comes off injured at half-time. So we'll wait and see near the time if that's a permanent injury or if it's one where it's just taken off as a precaution, but not in the squad tonight. So be interesting to see if he plays on Sunday. That's the next big signing is Bale. How could we do a spotlight on them without talking about the king returning home, so to speak? Will he play? Not in the squad tonight. Possibly won't be in the squad again in the Europa League against a bunch of farmers as well. So perhaps Jose's saving him for the big unveil against United at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got currently there's 3 big players out for Tottenham at the moment. There's Sissoko, Son, Bale. They're all out until mid of October. Like you said, Bale coming back. I've got a question now: is Bale a good fit to Mourinho's style of football?
I'd have to say yes for sure, because even if he's not match fit, because obviously with his woes at Real Madrid the past seasons, where he's not seeing the regular game time that we're used to him seeing, he brings a lack of or a plethora of experience rather, and a lot of skills that tie the loose ends in Spurs team. You have the likes of Son playing on the left. Now you can play Bale as an inverted winger on the right. And you can get those 2 making really nice V cuts into the box, and then you have your Harry Kane playing your traditional striker role. Fox on the box, a real target man, get it to him, and he's just going to score goals. But now, especially looking at 2 games ago, where Harry Kane notched, I think, 3 or 4 assists against Southampton, it shows he's now filling that void. Maybe Christian Eriksen might have left once he departed the squad. Harry Kane, I think, only notched 2 assists all of last campaign. He's doubled that in 1 game. Now if he can add that skill of passing, add that skill and develop his vision, it unlocks so many channels, unlocks so many types of play that could then revitalize Jose's team, because defensive mindset is definitely something we connect Jose to. But if we can give him the tools to play offensively, it'd be really cool to see how Jose would set up, because I think with the right pieces, he can change his team and change his philosophy, and he definitely has the skill set to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But if we're looking forward to Sunday's fixture, he played a 4-2-3-1 against Newcastle on a Saturday. He's gone for a 3-5-2 tonight, or a 5-3-2, whichever way you want to look at it. Probably the former when they're in possession, and then they'll drop back to a 5 when they're out of possession of the ball. But for me, I think they've gone for the 4-2-3-1 tonight, as they're probably not going to have as much possession of the ball, and they want to be a little bit more compact through the middle against what is the Chelsea team packed full of attacking talent. Whereas I think with the Newcastle, well documented that Newcastle have struggled for goals over the past couple of years, and I think it's probably why it could be a little bit more expansive. So it's a tough one on Sunday going up against United. They have been free scoring a bit recently. Sort of, I get that fear factor against when you're playing against United. Now you think, actually it could be 4 or 5 goals today, which I think they'd lost for a few years, but I think that fear factor is definitely back now. So it'll be interesting to see what you think the shape will be on Sunday, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Man United going in on Saturday watching it, they have that threat, and it is once Fernandes has that ball, as soon as he turns, he's always looking for that next pass to for that opportunity to score. And Rashford being a player that I really do highly rate. He's such a goal threat in front of goal. 9 times out of 10, he will score a goal or even hit the target. There's no way on this earth he is missing it. Goalkeepers should just consistently be always aware of where he is for the defender's sake. I think, like you said, Tottenham are, probably going to go into Sunday 4-2-3-1. I think Man United will match that, because I feel like it will be 2 teams wanting to go at it. Mourinho, I know, is very defensive and sort of plays out from the back and wants to go up as soon as the first pass has been made. But I do think Man United will go at them as well with that fear factor, like I said, of Fernandes being that crucial core of the team to assist, start attack, almost defend if it came to it. So as soon as he defends it, he has the ball, he's then starting that process. So yeah, I think they'll match each other on formation wise with 4-2-3-1. But yeah, it would just depend on who's lining up for him.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at tonight, he's got Fernandes, Ndombele and Sissoko through the middle and Dyer playing at centre half. For me, I think that's probably the weakest part of the whole Spurs lineup there. Those three through the middle. And arguably, if you're playing against a Man United side packed full of attacking talent, you want your holding midfield players to be up to scratch. And I don't think Ndombele and Fernandes are quite cutting the mustard in the Premier League as of yet. So I think possibly might go with Winks or Højbjerg, especially add a bit of nastiness into the midfield. It was well documented on the Prime documentary that they lacked some, again, a bit of an expletive, so I'm not going to say it, but they lacked a bit of nastiness in the team. And I think that's exactly why they brought Højbjerg in. Really nasty, sort of old-fashioned character. Don't think it'd have looked out of place in the Crazy Gang back in the day. If you want a bit of a comparison. But yeah, what do you think? How do you think United are going to line up, Cabs?
Yeah, well, I mean, I do agree that realistically Ole is going to match and go with what we have seen and is familiar to the United squad with a 4-2-3-1. You know, with our double pivot, and realistically, I see him playing, you know, our standard back four. Maybe a change to Bailly if he's fit, but again, not sure. I understand Lindelof has his struggles and has been struggling a lot in the past 3 games, and it's really shown. But does Ole trust his replacements enough? Again, not sure. It will be apparent if that change is made. I see, you know, Pogba, McTominay. I want to see McTominay this game because, again, like you said, the nastiness that Tottenham are going to come play with. I think McTominay definitely embodies that you know, that rough-nosed football. As so does Brandon Williams, our replacement or second choice left back. Then we have Fernandes right behind our really good attacking three of Greenwood, Martial in the middle, and Rashford at the side. Personally, I see why Ole is doing that. Maybe this is his inexperience showing, and he might be playing it safe, might be playing it comfortable. Personally, for me, I would see United setting up 2 different ways. So we could either stay with a 4-2-3-1, and but I really want to see Van de Beek starting. It's really hard to buy a player for the price he went to. I believe something around 40 million, and seeing him only play maybe 20, 30 minutes consistently. Maybe they haven't said anything about his match fitness or something, but I understand that that's not how business should be done. That you're not making enough return on your investment in a player. If we want to ideally see Van de Beek start, we should be playing a 4-3-3 with Pogba playing as a defensive or a deep lying playmaker. United are really good with playing this long ball, especially with our front 3. But we're also very susceptible to being caught offside. You know, we've been caught offside 10 times this season, the most in the Prem. I think by letting Pogba carry the ball a bit deeper, it gives him more space to pass the ball into. But right now he's getting the ball around the halfway line, maybe slightly past that, which is not giving our attackers enough space to run into, and not giving Pogba enough time on the ball to create that chance as well.
I think it's a good observation, a comment that I completely agree with you. When you've got someone with as much passing talent as Pogba, is that he needs time on the ball to almost play like an American football quarterback. So he sees the game very, very well, and I think he's better when he's got time on the ball, as a lot of players are. But I think the point that you make about receiving the ball too high up the pitch to be effective is, I think it's no discredit to the way United are lining up. I think it's more of a credit to how other teams are setting up against them. And obviously, if you've pinpointed that quite rightly so, as how United are very, very effective and how United are looking to play and try and get their attacking play going forward. Whereas I think that's just very clever tactics from the opposition. Obviously, well, if Route One, if for want of a better phrase, if Route One football is the way they're going to be playing, then well, we'll just sit off them, and that'll completely mitigate their attacking force, possibly. But I think you mentioned Pogba time on the ball again. I almost see him best playing a little bit like De Bruyne. So he'll either receive the ball in a wide leftish channel or a wide rightish channel, and then having a little bit of time on the ball to either be able to put the ball into the box, players like Rashford and Martial, Greenwood, Fernandes to get into the box, maybe look for a handball or fall over, something like that. And then the same for the other time, he's got time on the ball to switch it to the opposing channel to possibly try and work a 2v1 with Wan-Bissaka or Shaw and whoever's drifted over to the wings.
Yeah, I mean, Kabir, you made a really good point about, defenders wise, I think it's quite a tough choice for Man United to get a consistent back middle two rather than fullbacks. I think fullbacks are very cemented. Luke Shaw's been a servant for a while, and Wan-Bissaka being young, quick, and has that ability to go forward and defend. My question to you is, does Man United need a big defender? Because personally, I do think Man United need a big name defender going in, because I do see their side being top heavy. Like I said, they need a new leader. I think I just don't think Maguire cuts it. Leicester wise, he was an unbelievable centre back. In the World Cup, he was unbelievable. And I just think that he's dipped. I think him being at Man United's a massive club. Don't get me wrong, they're massive, but I think his head's changed since he left Leicester. And I feel like him being captain and the controversy that's happened recently, it's almost changed the way he has played. And he could also be a player that could be changeable. He could bring Bailly on for Maguire and leave Lindelof there. So that's why I do think Man United need a big name defender to come in and, be that new leader, have that experience. There's the likes of Thiago Silva going to Chelsea. I know he's 36, but it's a big name. There's no big names coming into the club.
True, but look how he performed on Saturday. Wasn't exactly a dream debut as captain, was it?
True, that is true. Yeah, but I just think Man United had that. You had Giggs, you had Scholes, you had Ronaldo, you had Rooney at the back. You had Patrice Evra, Gary Neville, players that were big names throughout the world and were known throughout the world. Rio Ferdinand. I mean, if Man United were to get a Rio Ferdinand caliber come in and just be that consistent defender and have whoever it is beside him to lead with, I would see Man United challenging the likes of Liverpool and City all the way throughout the whole season. That's why I think on Sunday they're going to miss that sort of thing. Kane's in form, I say, for the wrong reasons, because he's assisting rather than scoring, but he's still a threat on goal. Son's a big miss, but they can bring Bergwijn in and he's still a big threat on goal. Lucas Moura, I still rate him. I still think Tottenham should be starting him because he's way an impact player throughout the 90 minutes. So I do think that's what Man United are missing. But, time will tell, really. I mean, it's just, like you said, Thiago Silva debut on, Saturday, went to shop. So
One to forget, wasn't it?
I mean, it's always well and good saying a team needs XYZ big name player, but it's like, think of a football season like a game of poker, right? You have your two cards, and then you also have the cards in front of you. You hope for a card to finish your suit, but sometimes it doesn't come. So you have to play with the cards you're dealt, and then you either fold or you bluff, right? I think United are now in the situation where we kind of have to bluff and we have to play with the cards we're dealt. And it's time we stop hoping and looking out for the transfer market because nothing's guaranteed. So I think that's a conversation for another time. I think if we keep the focus on the matchup this week, My biggest hope for Ole, regardless of the lineup, is I hope he changes his tactics. The way we play out the back doesn't work for us. We don't have comfortable ball players like the other top 6 teams do. We don't have the likes of Van Dijk who can stay really deep and play that really nice long ball. Who isn't gonna really leave the halfway line, but can also defend one-on-one. You know, my biggest critique was against Crystal Palace. You know, Townsend, Zaha, Schlupp are really just running at Lindelof, Maguire, and they're looking silly because they can't defend one-on-one. They might not be having the confidence, they might not be in the right headspace. They can't do that. And when we see Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw bomb it down the wings, De Gea doesn't have many options to play the ball out of. And then now we're going to Lindelof, we're going to Maguire, who I mentioned previously, aren't making those effective, clear-cut passes that then allow Bruno to touch and turn and create that nice 1-2-3 touch football that we saw United play since the restart. I think if United can re-emulate that form that they had since the restart, we're going to see much more consistent performances. It might not lead to victories, but at this point in the rebuilding process, it's going to impact their learning as a team, and I think that's more important than the result at the end of the day. I think we will still somehow manage to get a top 6, hopefully a top 4, but as a fan and as a coach, I would rather see the team learn than the team play to win.
Right. So, I mean, we've covered formations and what they'll play. Who do you think will play?
For me, Spurs.
If we think that Spurs are going to go 4-2-3-1, and we probably think that they're going to line up differently in certain areas, who do you think those key areas will be, and who will switch out for who?
It's a good question. Obviously, Bergwijn in for Son. I think probably Winks would maybe come in for Fernandes, Højbjerg in for Ndombele. I think that'd be the main changes I'd look for. And then obviously Harry Kane, England captain's got to come in for Eric Lamela, doesn't he?
Yeah.
We also have to look at it very conservatively, because the changes Spurs make is out of necessity, because they've now played 4 games in the span of 8 days, whereas United would have only played 2 or 3. I can't recall if they play a game this week, but I do not think we do. So the changes that United make are tactical changes. The changes Jose are going to make are fitness changes, because again, he doesn't want to go down that route of injuries. So we have to be very mindful, and it becomes a lot harder for us to predict, because right now no one can tell what Ole is thinking. Like, again, I think he might be in a very situation of Chris Wilder's, like, stick to what's proven, stick to what's true to us, and hopefully we can then showcase it again and again. But it really just comes down to the day. It really comes down to how training goes, because they don't have to release a lineup now, so they still have time on their hands to make that decision. So I think it's still up in the air. Prediction-wise,
I think. Oh, one last thing before we move on to predictions.
Yeah,
quick
sure.
one. I think obviously Jose, we're not sure if he's going to go to a 3 or a 4 at the back. But if I was Ole looking at this, I'm looking at Tanganga and Alderweireld as their sort of wide centre backs. And for me, you'd be looking to expose that frailty as much as possible, because centre backs aren't necessarily renowned for one-on-one defending. It's usually the full backs, that's their bread and butter normally. So if I was United, I'd be trying to look at creating overloads at the corners of Spurs box. So by that, I mean I get in a 3-on-2 there, for example. So either Rashford, Fernandes, and then Shaw. Or on the other side, you're looking at Greenwood, Fernandes, and Wan-Bissaka. I think that's very important to be able to beat their players, be able to create some room wide on the edge of the box, and then get the ball across the face of goal, which I think United have shown us that they are very good at doing that. So I think, like you said, I think that's just something that they'll have to work on and be cautious of if you're a Spurs player.
Well, I mean, that can also be shown. Like, they didn't do that against Brighton, and controversy is controversy, but we only were awarded 1 or 2 corners, and that's poor from United. We normally get a lot. We normally, put it up there, and we're normally very offensive. that corner then resulted into the handball, into the VAR, and that's a story for another time. But corners are something United do look dangerous on, regardless if we're not scoring from them. We just keep the opposing team under pressure, and I think once United have pressure, we're so good at exploiting it.
Right, I think we should move on to our predictions. So I've gone with a 2-2 draw. I do think, same as last week, both defences are quite shaky, whereas attack-wise they'll be going at each other. So I do think the same will happen this week. Spurs and Man United, they'll, both defences are quite shaky, whereas attack-wise there's a lot of threat there. So I do see there being goals, but I don't see anyone coming out on top.
Josh?
Interesting. I'm putting this down to Jose being a better manager. He's not got the better players, but he's a better manager. And I think that makes them greater than some of their pots. So I'm going for a 2-1 win to Spurs, or a 1-2 win.
As a fan, obviously I can't say United are going to lose. I would like to say, as a fan, I would like to say a 2-1 win to United. Realistically, I think there's going to be a 2-1 win to Spurs. I see the game going as it's going to be 2 quick goals from the leading team and then 1 late consolation goal. That's normally how the tale has gone from the past matchups against Spurs United in the past 3 matchups that Ole has faced Jose. So, I think that trend's going to continue. But I think only the best wishes can save United, and a dominant victory could be on the cards. United are always full of surprises.
Right, so 3 different predictions there. Realistically, the majority think Spurs could win, but Kabir's heart's on Man United with a soft little result prediction there. So I think we've finished there, guys. I think we've covered a lot there, a lot of information. So yeah, I think that's everything. So please check out our Instagram at Next Level Coaching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and also we would love a lot of feedback on our podcast, possible different directions we could go, and maybe more in depth in some other places. So yeah, please like, subscribe. Peace and love, baby.